Hi, this is John from Ilium Works, and today we're going to be installing our engine guard bars on a K1600 Bagger and our highway pegs. Our first step, we're going to remove the auxiliary lights using a T25 Torx driver. I'm going to loosen the screws on the mounting bracket. The one in the back is very difficult to see, but it's in there. Okay, next we're going to snip the zip tie that holds the wire lead in place. We're going to remove the connector to the auxiliary light. We're going to take a small flat blade screwdriver, stick it in there, and do the latch and remove it. One more screw up here. Okay, and then you want to wiggle this thing forward and then pull the top out, pull it loose. Another screw. Okay, now we're going to remove this lower fairing. Another T25 driver. This makes it a lot easier to get into this screw here. One more up higher. Two underneath that you just have to do by feel because it's very difficult to see them. Remove one screw from this upper fairing to allow you a little more flexibility. Pull this out over the auxiliary light mount, and if we pull the upper fairing out a little bit, we can withdraw this pin from the rubber grommet that's in the upper fairing. Now we're going to remove the factory engine guard and floorboard, starting with a T45 driver. We're going to remove the M8 screw from the cylinder head. It's holding the top of the engine guard and floorboard. Now we're going to remove the 10mm bolt using a T50 driver. From here you're going to have to support everything when you remove the bolt so it doesn't fall. Now we're going to remove the auxiliary light bracket from the floorboard and engine guard using a T30 driver to remove this M6 screw. When you take this apart, observe the orientation between this tab in the hole and the mounting screw. Now we're going to put our adapter plate onto this. Utilizing the factory screw and the M6 nut that we supply with the kit. We're going to install the crossbar now. We're going to put the auxiliary light bracket with the adapter plate on it. On the back side, we're going to install the 6mm spacer and slide this whole assembly through the cylinder head and get the M8 screws started with a 6mm Allen wrench. We're going to run it in just far enough that everything is loose but not flopping around too much. Okay, now we're going to finish off the right side of the bar. We're going to offer up our auxiliary light bracket with the M8 screw to the crossbar and put the 6mm spacer in between the crossbar and the cylinder head. Get that screw started. Run it in by hand till it doesn't flop around anymore, but it still has a little bit of wiggle room. We're going to use our T30 driver and remove this M6 screw from the back of the side of the engine cover. Okay, now we're going to offer up the engine guard bar. Start on the crossbar first. Get the big M10 bolt started on the bottom, just finger tight. M6 in the back. Okay, now we go to the front of the bar. We've got the M6 and the saddle washer that goes through the engine guard bar and into the crossbar. And using a 5mm Allen, we'll run that in. Just loosely. Everything still wiggles a little bit. Now we're going to go to the other side and repeat that. Okay, now we're going to install our bar on the left side of the engine here. First we're going to take our T30 and remove this one M6 screw. The engine guard bar over the crossbar first, and then align it with screw holes. Put the M10 in, get it started. Just finger tight. The M6 back in the rear here. Now we're going to put the M6 screw and saddle washer into the front here. Okay, now that we've gone through and snugged up all the bolts on the engine, crossbar, and mounting bolts, we're going to torque everything. We set our torque wrench for 7 pound-feet or 9.5 Newton meters to do the 6mm screws. Use the T30 on this one in the rear. 5mm for the bolt into the crossbar. Okay, we're going to tighten the 8mm screws next, and that requires 17 pound-feet or 22 Newton meters, 6mm Allen. Tighten the screw going into the cylinder head. Lastly, we're going to do the M10 bolt. That goes to 33 pound-feet or 44 Newton meters. And that's it. Everybody's torqued into place. I'm going to reinstall the lower fairing, feed the auxiliary light cable through the hole. Make sure to get the pin started into the grommet. And everything will fit into place there. Okay, now that we've got the fairing positioned correctly, we're going to start putting the screws in. This one in the side first, that's the easiest. That'll keep it from falling down. We're going to remember to reinstall the screw up in the upper fairing here. Using our short T25 driver here, we'll get these screws started. Two screws in the bottom. Pretty much have to do these by feel. It's very difficult to see in there. Okay, now that all the screws are in, we're going to go around and tighten them up. Okay, now we're going to reinstall the auxiliary light. First step is to put this piece back on. We're going to catch these two hooks on the bottom, put the hook in the top, and then slide it, wiggle it and slide it rearward until the screw hole appears. This one screw in at the top. Tighten it up. We'll put our zip tie through the mount on the back of this and put it around our wire. We'll put it on there but not tighten it yet. put the auxiliary light back into place. We're going to plug the wire back into the bottom, make sure it clicks into position. And then we tighten the two screws with the T25 driver. Aim the light so that it's horizontal to the ground and finish snugging it up. Now we're going to tighten up our zip tie and clip off the excess. Okay, now we're going to install the highway pegs, and if you run your fingers along the inside of the bar, you can feel a series of holes there that locate on this pin. We can adjust it from this far forward in 1/2 inch increments all the way to this far back. The reason for adjusting this is if your legs hit the fairing or the storage compartment on a GT or GTL, you want to adjust rearward until the pressure on your leg is relieved. And we're going to use the supplied 5/32 Allen wrench to get a screw started. Once you have one in and snugged up, this won't fall. You don't have to remove the screws all the way. If you want to readjust it, just slacken them off far enough to disengage the pin in the backside. You can slide it fore and aft and then retighten these things. Just 2 fingers on the wrench is sufficient to tighten these. Okay, now that you've installed your engine guards and highway pegs, we recommend that after the first 100 miles or so of riding, you check all the screws for tightness and make sure everything is adjusted properly, and enjoy the ride.